All righty, gang. We are going to fly around the universe, trying to get us to go live on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on YouTube. It's not liking us, but yeah, we're going to fly around the universe with the wonderful Lorianne Spagna today, most amazing spiritual teacher of higher consciousness. So I had Laurie on the show, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I think 2022. And I had such a wonderful conversation with her. We're going to go over a few of the things that we spoke about. I just thought, I just got to get this amazing woman back on the show. You will absolutely love her. Stay tuned.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain, expanding and awakening consciousness on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM. Syndicated radio, as you know, for those who have been listening for a while, all over the place. We're hitting about 120 countries, and hopefully we'll have a fabulous live audience on today. No comments yet. So I've got the wonderful Lorianne Spagna back on the show. Welcome, Laurie. So great to have you back on.
Hello, and thank you for having me, Karen. I'm very excited to be here.
So Mish says g'day from down under. G'day, everyone. So Laurie has had a bit of a cold, so she's a little under the weather, but you know, she's a master soul. She said, I was going to cancel because I felt so sick, but I didn't want to cancel you. So I thank you for that.
I'm happy to be here.
After I had someone not show up just the once, it's only happened the once since I've been on the live network. I'm always worried that everyone's not going to show up. It's a worry. That's, so I send all these things. Are you going to come? Are you going to come? Are you going to come? To make sure that people show up. So she's going to affect her mastery and step up and give us a wonderful show today. Yeah, we've got a few Aussies online. Alison, g'day. You're in hospital. And Charlene, how are you, everyone? Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about Laurie. As I said, she was on the show in 2022. She was part of a conference, Portal to Ascension, Neil Gore was putting on, and he asked me to speak to a couple of the speakers. So Lorianne Spagna is a best-selling author, a spiritual catalyst, intuitive multidimensional channel, and Ascension Guide and Mentor. An animal communicator, it goes on, energy healer, starseed, contactee, and visionary. I think we spoke about your first contact and NDE last time. Laurie channels the collective, a group of non-physical interdimensional beings who include a collective group of ascended masters, goddesses, angels, teachers, loved ones, animal kingdom collective, star races, interstellar beings, and others from the non-physical realm. I very irreverently call the mob. It's like, who are you? We're a stream of consciousness, but we incorporate all these things. There's Lisha, howdy. Hi, darling. And and if to learn about her and to get free gifts, you can go to her website, which is lauriespagna.com, and there she has lots of free gifts. I was just telling Laurie how much I loved her website, and she was saying, do you? I think it's such an old website. Let me show you. Let me show people what Laurie's website. Yeah, I said it looked really professional, and great photos of you, and it's really clear. And I loved your website. There's you and your little pet. What's her name? His name?
Emma or Emma Shasta.
Oh, so sweet. Yeah, so I loved your website.
Thanks for saying that.
And a couple of the things that we spoke about last time, because you channeled the animals, how animals teach us and how they feel about being eaten. We can go over that again. Weather patterns, we spoke about teleportation, we spoke about Anne as a middle name. We can go over that again because was really revealing to me. I had no idea about what the meaning of Anne as a middle name was until you said it. And so many times I wanted to tell people about it, and I couldn't remember what you said, but I went over it.
Namology. It's namology.
Namology. Is that what you call it? Namology?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many ways. It's like you were saying at the beginning of our connection today, you were saying how your numbers are 999, and you're saying that spirit has such an interesting way of making jokes. And I was saying, oh, that's interesting that you see it that way, like they're playing jokes on you. But I just see it as the universe and the divine intelligence shows you in every way imaginable, like every way imaginable, how real this stuff is.
Yeah.
Every way. You want to look at your astrology. You want to look at namology. You want to look at numerology. You want to look at the tarot. You want to look at any kind of animal totems. You want, like, just pick it. You want to look at the stars and the star systems. You want to look at channeling and channelers, like on and on and on. Ad infinitum. There are so many ways to know beyond doubt that this stuff is real, legitimate, and credible and valuable, right? And that's like what we're waking up to. And that's what I say about even with the animal communication telepathy, animals as they're our teachers and our guides, because the beautiful, brilliant thing about animals is that they really are anchoring in that consciousness, that evolved evolutionary perspective without even knowing it. It's so innocent. It's like, yes, on a certain level, their soul knows it, but their personality selves isn't sitting there like, oh, I'm an evolved Buddha being. No, they're just like, I am the energy of joy. I am the consciousness, the energy of forgiveness. I am the energy, the consciousness of play and fun and innocence and all those things. So it's just way after way after way, the universe shows us.
Absolutely.
Real and legitimate.
You know what I love? I love watching cat videos of men having affectionate connections with cat. They just seem to be all over the internet. Yeah. Myself and my daughter are a bit cat obsessed, and so I watch a lot of cat videos. But I was just watching one this morning of a cat just looking adoringly into a man's eyes, and he was like watching television or something. He kept looking back at the cat, and the cat was just staring and beaming love. And so this is like all over the internet, which is really transmitting that love frequency. How they're, because last time you said how the animals teach us, and they're just showing us about unconditional love. Cats are cool. So we've got a lot of comments here about animals. So let's get into the animals. Let's go over what we spoke about. Because
let me say too that this is going to be a very big year for animals of the sea. The upcoming year. Why? Because the planet Jupiter, which is all about the expansion of consciousness, it gives gifts, gives material gifts, but it gives great gifts of consciousness. It's going over the sign of Cancer, which is all about water and nurturing. So the seas and the animals in the seas, whales, dolphins, and everything else in the waters, they're going to help expand our consciousness. Now, we hope that this will be all positive. Generally speaking, wherever Jupiter goes, positivity follows. So we can expect some good news. We hope we can expect some good news from and for the waters and the animals of the seas. Although sometimes, of course, we can also see shadow aspects, right? When we talk about shadow aspects, it means what's not right. Mish just said sharks are washing up. See, that's really sad, right? All the sea life is dying in Australia. So either things will flip, right? Here's why. Things can either really flip because its official starts June 9th. We're not there yet in terms of linear time. But we've been in a very dark time with regard to the waters. Why? Because Mars was in the sign of Cancer and in retrograde for like the past 6 months. And Jupiter was in Gemini, which is like the 12th house for Cancer, which essentially what that means is the shadow, the underworld, the darkness. So we're going to see a very likely, although it might not turn out that way, but a very positive flip in a positive direction, which may mean that humans start making positive changes along for the benefit of the waters and the animals. So, well, we'll see how it plays out. But just an interesting place to start.
That's amazing. My daughter works in the oceans. She teaches people free diving. She takes people whale watching, swims. You know, she's in the ocean a lot. So yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah,
It's also interesting about sharks washing up. That somebody said that sharks, as an animal totem, as animal messengers, and I've communicated with a lot of sharks over the years because I also led dolphin swimming trips for many years, and we had a lot of encounters with sharks. And they would always say, like, our primary soul's agenda, in a sense, as a collective, is to help people see the irrationality of their fear, like to liberate them from fear. Because we have no interest. We're so peaceful. We have no interest in humans. We just peaceful swimmers, and yet everyone's so afraid of us for like no valid reason. Not really.
Yeah.
Because they're not looking at the facts, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Sharks really have no interest in humans. The only reason, for the most part, humans have ever been bitten by sharks. I can't say this as an absolute across the board in every case, but overall, it's more because sharks use they don't have good eyesight. So
Absolutely.
they see something and they think it's a seal or something that they would eat, and they go to taste it, right?
Absolutely. I have personal experience of this. My daughter was a shark, but she was bitten by a shark. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
interesting. She was on a UK radio show the other day, and they wanted to sensationalize it and call it a shark. She was a shark attack victim. And the first thing she said is, first of all, I wasn't attacked by a shark, because she's a shark whisperer. You know, she's a shark activist. And even though they've had a bit of a nibble at her and cut one of her main arteries in her leg and got a nice scar, she absolutely loves sharks. It went viral when she was being helicoptered to the hospital. All the press were there, because the Australian press just love promoting shark attacks. It's like every time someone it just goes around the world, you know, shark attack.
We love drama.
To promote more fear. She sat up in the gurney and said, I still love sharks. Sharks are beautiful.
I'm glad.
But she absolutely knows that she was in murky water, and she knows that there was a light glistening on her wetsuit. The shark mistook her for a fish, went up to have a bit of a, like, what is this? Bit of a taste.
Right.
Didn't attack her, just like had a nibble to see what it was, because, as you said, blind. And they sense through their taste and figured out that, oh, you're not a fish, so let her go.
Right.
But yeah.
They're not even interested in humans. One of the sharks that I communicated with on one of our dolphin trips, he said, well, if I wanted to attack you all, I could have. I had no interest. I just wanted to see what all the fuss was about.
Yeah.
We're all swimming about. The interesting thing was on that same dolphin adventure with that same shark, and that one in particular, we had like a wall of dolphins come in between us and the shark. So the dolphins were creating a space for us to get out of the water and onto the boat. It's just so fascinating, right? These animals are just so highly evolved and such high consciousness. And it's us who doesn't understand how evolved they are, that they already understand and use the secret energy of consciousness. That is their primary language, the energy of consciousness.
Yeah.
So, and they're doing it without trying to figure it out or logic their way through it. They just know what energy is and what that energy symbolizes. So if a human comes home into their house and the human is happy or joyful, the animal's going to radiate that energy, because they know that energy of happy joy. They just know it. Oh, this is happy joy. If the energy is sad or grieving, the animal's going to bring forward likely some form of compassion or sweet love or kindness. Why? Because that's just the consciousness that's required in that moment. So the animal just becomes that for the human. If the human is extraordinarily fearful, for example, the animal likely will or may become very aggressive as a way to protect that fear that that human has, to guard off, right? It's just, you see these patterns, they happen over and over again. And then through animal communication, you can understand this is why this behavior is going on. Same thing with sickness and illness. If there's sickness and illness in the house, the animal acts as a sponge.
Yeah.
Like they are not at all like, oh, they are just energetically sensitive. So they absorb that energy. And very often they're taking on the sickness or the illness that's in the household as a way to be healers. Their brain's not sitting there thinking about it or logicking through it. They're just being energy and consciousness. They're just being.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you've been talking to animals for years, and last time on the show we spoke about how they felt about being eaten. Should we go over that? I thought that was really interesting. You said something, because I was re-listening to our conversation this morning, because I haven't eaten meat for years, but I buy meat for my cat. Instead of buying cat food, I go to the supermarket. And so here's me, a sort of mostly vegan person, buying all this meat at the supermarket. But you said something really interesting about pigs. Do you want to go over that?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just deciding, I was just asking whether or not we want to do that through my brain information or if we want to channel. Well, we'll start with the brain, and if something's meant to come through as a channel. But yeah, I mean, most animals, what they say about being eaten for the most part is, if you're going to eat us, at the very least, just treat us with compassion while we're alive. Just treat us with dignity.
Yeah.
You know, and cows have said this. Mad cow disease, if you remember that, was a function of cows being willing to self-sabotage to stop what was being done to them and their offspring, the way it was being done, right?
Yeah.
So cows are a great example. They're like, just stop taking our babies from us and making veal. Like, we rename it, like veal. So you don't have to, it's a baby cow who hasn't even had like any form of a life. Most of them say something like that. The fish are really interesting. They're the only animal that I ever spoke to, communicated with, who said, well, we eat each other. Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
So for me, I eat fish because that's the answer that I got. Like, well, we eat each other. Like, we don't think there's anything so weird about eating each other. But we do, there was a kind of like a weirdness of, what do you mean when you put us in containers to try to breed us, to make us? They didn't quite fully get that. So, different animals have different things to say, but pigs, and that was one of the things you mentioned, pigs generally are one of the animals who say, no, it's against our free will to be eaten at all. And this is why it is well known that animal meat associated with like pork, bacon, can be very often linked to carcinogenic, meaning that it can cause cancer. Why?
Yeah.
Because the energy of resentment, the energy of is against my free will for this to take place. Therefore, this is evil if I'm being forced against my free will. So when something like that goes in and through the body that you eat, right, that you take on, you're taking that on. Resentment, grudge, anger. Those are the energies that contribute to and largely cause cancer.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I just need to say one other thing really fast.
Mhm.
Okay? That's not to say that any person or animal who got cancer is a bad person or full of resentment or grudge. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying, if you want to go to the next level, is that the solution to the cancer is some form of forgiveness and some form of freedom.
Absolutely.
Right. And it means likely that that person or animal has soul work to do to free and liberate themselves from that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we never want to make people wrong for the diseases. Like, we're jumping here from animals to diseases, but I know you're cool with this, right? We never want to make people wrong for the things that go wrong in our lives. What we know is that the things that go wrong in our lives, whether it's us or our animals, is linked to the areas where we're here to do major soul growth.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm.
Where there's significant transformation that needs to take place.
Yeah. In Australia, I don't know if it's happening overseas, but we had to put millions of chickens were slaughtered because of some mad chicken disease.
Yeah.
And so eggs are like, if you go early in the supermarket, you can still get your eggs, but by midday, all the eggs are gone. And that's been happening for months and months and months and months.
Yeah,
and months.
something like that similar happened here a bit.
Really? Yeah. So that's the collective, that's the chicken collective saying, we're not cool with the way you treat us, having them stacked in cages. And it's hideous when you watch those vegan, documentaries. They're just hideous.
Yeah.
But, there are chickens that are happy, that are free, that are roaming free. They're in their thousands, they're all together. But, when you buy free range eggs, somebody said to me,
pasture.
Buy pastured. Yeah, pastured means they're outside. Free range can mean they're free to run around, but they're still caged inside in a cage. Yeah. Anyway, it's really interesting
how the food industry finds languaging to make it sound pretty and still deflect from really taking, real humanitarian efforts, right? All in the name of profits. But this is a really good thing to say, I think, for people to evolve in consciousness is, we have across the globe these industries that were born out of this old paradigm, right? The core industries, number one, media, number two, not in any particular order, all of them, finance, number three, education, four, food and beverage, number five, pharmaceutical and drug, number six, what am I missing? We said financial and
transport.
Transportation could be in there for sure. All forms
with the
of energy,
oil and gas industry,
right? Oil and gas, and transportation, right? Because that goes back to the murder of Nicholas Tesla, right? Okay, but and then even now, big tech. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but these big industries are basically more interested in basically control, domination, and propagation of their old patterns that are causing harm to the many for the benefit of the few, and holding on to this old way of doing things that allow for them to control and dominate and prosper, again, to the harm of the many for the benefit of the few. And they're not, a lot of times, so often they're just so stuck in their old ways that they're unwilling to make the change that's needed for humanity to move forward and benefit. And that includes recognizing that there are ways to farm, and, to circle back to the animal thing, there are ways we can farm. There are ways that we can treat animals humanely, and they can still be prosperous, and they can still feed humanity. And yet they do not have to be creating so much misery that is being passed down through the genetic. Why? Because when you eat something that has so much pain and suffering, you take it on. That's it. If there's pain and suffering by one on the earth, there's pain and suffering for all.
Yeah, if they're not going to change, it'll change for them. Like getting all these, like the animals getting mad cow disease and
exactly.
And what's been happening in Australia actually, because we have a huge cattle industry, because we've got lots of land. It's just perfect for raising cattle. And we've had these massive floods. And I had a lady on the show at the end of 2023, Ann Tucker, she does a lot of predictive stuff through her connection with the angels. And she was talking about weather patterns and disasters. And so she was saying there'll be a lot of flooding. And like 2 weeks after she said that, we had the worst floods we'd ever had. And then it's continued. Like we've now had the worst floods, like right now, the worst floods Australia's ever seen are happening right now in the central of the state that I live in. And a few months before, again, the worst floods we'd ever seen before that, flooded the desert, and just hundreds of thousands of cows were just drowned in a dry, arid desert country as Australia. They would drown. It's amazing what's happening. So yeah, you're right. They're reticent to change, but change is happening. Change will happen anyway, because even though for the benefit of the few. But I was just going to say about the pigs. So I've been buying pork for my cat to fatten him up. And I just realized I've got to stop doing that, because I'll never buy lamb, even in cat food. I'll never buy lamb. I can't, I'm not going to eat somebody's baby. But even for the cat. But real vegans say that you're not a real vegan if you feed your animals meat. And I'm like, oh, then I'm not a real vegan. I don't know how to turn my cat into a vegetarian. I'm sure you feed
I've heard that too a lot. It's one of the greatest dilemmas for animal lovers.
Yeah,
because we are omnivorous. Humans are omnivorous, right? And every human has their own unique, right? And the truth is that as we evolve, eventually we will evolve. This has been channeled, right? I've channeled this through with the collective. Eventually we'll evolve into mostly breatharian, or that we will have choice what and when and how, what to eat. And when I say have choice, more like not what the body dictates through the brain's consciousness, but really alignment. Like, I'm choosing that I no longer need this, and my body will still be healthy and full of vitality, right? Yeah. So we'll evolve more into more conscious eating and breatharian for primary ways of eating. But the dilemma is, in the meantime, first of all, humans we have to reprogram our DNA, because we've been wired, in a sense. I'm going to need to drink a little water for my throat. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I just want to acknowledge the people that are online. Hi, Mish, Heidi, Shirley, Sherry, all the gals as usual. Usually Vadi's here, the one young man. Got lots of, all the gals are here. Hi, everybody. Oh, Moby's here. I think Bashar said animals. What are you saying here, Moby? I think, no, I didn't bring you up. Here we go. Did we freeze?
No.
It's not coming up.
Can you see me?
Frozen? No. There we go. Yeah.
You're good. We can hear you.
We did freeze for a second.
But it's good.
I think Bashar said animals predicate eating each other, reflects global human consciousness. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, predation is a reflection of consciousness for sure. But the thing is,
Shirley's looking forward to being a breatharian. Are you, darling? I'm not. I like food too much.
But you'll still be able to enjoy food. It's not that you won't be able to enjoy it. It's that right now, it's still evolving. It's still coming from a place of you don't really have choice. In other words, you must eat to survive, and your body is required certain foods. And even though you as a human, based on your DNA, have different needs than another human, no one prescription, so to speak, is right for everybody. Each human. So here's where I was going with that before I drank the water, was that our DNA has been so manipulated through our, you could say alien races or, reptilian ancestry, that it's up to us to reclaim our original divine blueprint and reawaken what's organic and natural in us. And this takes time. It's not like a pill overnight, to restore our consciousness to such a degree that we have the ability to choose the foods that are right for us based on our frequency, based on our consciousness, based on our full and complete conscious consent, and be as healthy as we want. But we do have to rewrite our DNA. Now, going back to the animal part, where vegans say, well, you're not a real vegan if you're still feeding your animal, animals. I understand. I work with a lot of vegans. I'm not vegan. As I mentioned, I eat fish. However, I also, I understand that the animals, their bodies are not omnivores. They are carnivores. The dogs and cats anyway. And to try to replicate that, I've seen it over and over again, that animals' bodies don't do well when they're being fed vegan diets. It's some people will say, oh, my animal's doing great on it. Okay, well, wait a few years. So I'm not a big advocate of that. And then what I go back to is, recognizing there are sacred contracts involved, right? There are contracts and agreements involved with all of us. And this is part of the evolutionary journey. And so what we're trying to change is the way we treat animals overall, to recognize them as sentient beings who have needs and who deserve to be treated with respect and kindness, no matter what. Right? Because if you're a vegan and you're choosing to treat your animal as a vegan, your animal companion, then you and your animal companion had some kind of sacred contract or agreement for that. And if that what's right for you guys, then I respect
That's right for you.
Right. That's what's right for you. And maybe your particular animal has already done enough work on their journey. Maybe it is true. I'm not denying that as a potential. We all have to come to our own divine truth.
There was a guru in India years ago who had a pet tiger. And the tiger was a vegan. But that was a guru, like anything is possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. Indigo says,
really true.
Just catching up, but I thought I'd add, I saw that they are playing the sounds of living reefs, and this is helping regenerate brand new coral reefs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I
Using
love that.
sounds.
See, there's so many beautiful solutions. Like, do you know how come Japan survived Fukushima? Do you remember Fukushima?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. They're recovered like that was nothing. I mean, it was because they dropped crystals, and Dr. Emoto, who's no longer physically alive, did all kinds of, prayers, the famous prayers, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. I forgive you, I love you, thank you. Dropping crystals and other prayers. It was all like, we have the spiritual solutions to all.
That gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, we do. And there are more solutions within us. This is why I love the whole topic of activating DNA, because we can activate our DNA, more and more of our DNA. Now, the challenge of activating DNA and even discovering the solutions within us is that, number one, we have to do it's frequency based. It's all energetic frequency based. So typically we learn how, but we also have to work with someone, at least in the early stages, who's at higher frequencies. Sometimes that means angels and guides and guardians, masters, teachers, and loved ones, but also means some kind of teacher or master who's already achieved a level of frequency consciousness so that they can help us to elevate, right? Because you can't elevate out of your frequency. Typically, if you're stuck in a frequency or an energy of density, let's just use an example. Okay, an everyday layman example. If you're living in a prison or in a jail or in some psychic ward where everyone's sick and mentally unwell, to get yourself to a state of joy in a place like that is not very easy, right? You need someone to come in at least and spread some joy and share some divine inspiration, right? And uplift you. And if they only come in for an hour a week, it still won't make a difference because you're living in that space. This is my point. So we still, when we're working with DNA, we still need to work with someone typically to help us to elevate. But as we awaken that DNA, that's where we start to uncover and reveal our own sacred templates, right? Our templates, our divine templates within us are the templates that are in our DNA. And these are like scrolls. They're not the same thing as contracts. They're the templates of the gifts that we're here to offer and share in the world and what we're here to bring forward. And those gifts are unique to every individual, but they're always some kind of solution. And that's like our magnificence, right?
Yeah.
It's like our best self. That's us living. And that's why, like even today I can show up to a call. Like I was really sick this week because I've been on the road, like digital nomad for almost 6 months now. in my body just got to a point last week where it's like, we're done. Like we just need a place to stay now. Like don't keep traveling me everywhere every
Yeah.
week from place to place. I want to sit still and be still. I was like, okay, I hear you, body. No problem. We'll make the change. But I can show up on a call like this even after having a cold, because this is part of what I'm here to do this is part of my divine template, to bring forward this and share consciousness along these lines to help others, right?
Absolutely. It's all why we're here. Susan says she knows a woman whose work involved healing radioactive waste energy. Yeah, Susan, I've chatted with the Galactic Mob and talked about radioactive waste, because they said, we have the technology to clean up all the pollution on your planet.
Sure.
We're not going to give it to you, because you humans have to first take responsibility for perpetuating it before this technology. And I said to them, what about radioactive pollution? And they said, oh yeah, absolutely easy. They've got that down, And I'm like, oh, whoa. Yeah. So it's all there. Like all that information of how to do it there. But they said, we're not going to give you this technology until collectively you take responsibility for it. Yeah. But there she is.
Yeah.
What's her name again?
Emma Shasta.
Emma Shasta.
She always loves to come in on the calls, and she sits on my lap for a little while. And then eventually she goes and
She's so sweet. For people that are listening on radio and not looking at us, do you want to just explain what sort of dog she is? What she looks like?
She's a King Charles Spaniel. Right?
Look at her.
Oh, she's a lover girl. Her job on this earth is just to share love and joy. I'm serious. That is her job.
I want to get into healing and, feeling stuck and feeling, going through difficult times, because I know a lot of people are going through. But before we do that, I want to talk about kangaroos, because before we went live, I was talking about what I was feeding my cat.
Kangaroo.
And Laurie said, I've never channeled a kangaroo. I've never spoken to a kangaroo. And I said, I suppose you wouldn't, because you're not in Australia. Let's see if you can.
I'm just tapping in here, see if
we can bring through the roos, because kangaroo meat is very popular down under, because we have masses of kangaroos and they cull them, like they kill them because we have lots of them. Anyway, I don't understand the I'm sure farmers could tell you the logic, but yeah, kangaroo meat is big in the pet food industry, but it's also big because it's a very lean meat. It's also big in the in the meat eating industry as well. What do the roos want to say to us about all this?
So we are a kangaroo. There's an interrupt here from the collective overall that wants to come through first, but I'm putting a pause on this. So let me just say, I'm going to bring through the consciousness of kangaroo, and then the collective wants to share something.
Okay.
So we are kangaroo, and it is interesting to share this experience with you here now. And while we have not been asked a specific question, based on the consciousness that is here now, we are understanding you are wondering what our collective consciousness would like to share. And then there is another offshoot conversation related to kangaroos being used as food. First, let us say a significant part of our sacred mission on earth, which is always the question of the one whose voice is being used, for we are infused in her consciousness here now, and we see and know all that is present with her. Our primary sacred mission here on earth is to support humans in recognizing how effortless it is and can be to remove blocks and obstacles. If you know and notice, as we are strong kickers, as we use our legs we use our tail to easily support ourselves and our legs to push away anything in our path that interferes, that in any way might cause us any form of concern. We simply use our tail, which is connected to our root chakra, which is connected to our ability to survive, And we use our legs to remove the obstacle from our path, which is also connected to our root chakra, which is also, as we have stated, part of our survival abilities. And we are simply using this as reference for you to understand that anything that stands in your path that is considered to be an obstacle, you have this ability to. And if you start to recognize metaphorically that you can envision any obstacle in your path and simply bat it away, whoosh it away, kick it away, swipe it away, and start to recognize that you have this power within you. You have this ability. Now, we hear you. We hear the questions in this group. Well, what about that if those obstacles are there to help us grow? And we say, if they are, that may be something you are not so easily able to kick away or bat away. However, each time you attempt to kick it away or bat it away, you will still grow stronger. You will still become more resolute. You will still become more certain of your own mastery, of your own ability to proceed with your life journey and life path. You will still become stronger in your own consciousness to know that you are able to overcome or circumvent or bat away any obstacle that stands in your way. There is another sacred mission that we carry here, and that is to teach people the significance of nurturing. For as you know, we carry that which you call Joey, our pups, our babes, in our pouches for a very long period of time, years, at least a year, sometimes longer. And this is for the mothering part of us that knows how to protect. And we all want you to know that you all have an inner babe within you, an inner Joey, who always will need to be loved and nurtured and cared for. And you must become your own mothering, nurturing parent to your own self, because so many of you in the human world have not grown up with the mothers or the parents or the parenting skills that were needed for you, which is why so many of you are, and we are not saying this with a condescending tone, we are simply stating it as a point of fact, so many of you are carrying traumas and wounds because so many of you did not have the mothering and the nurturing. So we teach about the sacred mothering in the sense to carry your inner child within you, within the sacredness of your own center, the center of your being, and to keep within you safe, even that what might seem like an adult or one who is outgrown their childhood, to keep that safe and sacred within you, and to always treat within you the inner child that wants to be nurtured and needs to be nurtured, loved, and cared for, and know that you are safe. Keep that version of you within you, safe and loved and cared for and nurtured within this inside of you. You see, this is another part of our sacred mission. You are never too old to have an inner parent, never too young to be parented by yourself, and never too old to parent yourself and to recognize the inner child within you. Now, as for the second part of your inquiry, how do we feel about being eaten and slaughtered? As we will say this, first, many of those who profit at utilizing our physical carcasses like to promote the story that we are too prolific. And we think this is laughable, for that is just a storyline that serves those who profit off of the harnessing of our physical forms. Mm-hmm. Or we could not replicate or duplicate the population of the increased amount in comparison to the number of humans. There are more humans than any other animal species, and humans like to justify their actions by making it seem as if we are overpopulating, and this is so far from the truth and laughable to us from our perspective. That said, we do understand that humans are still functioning from such a limited consciousness that they believe they need to eat physical bodies to survive. And we heard earlier, this was mentioned, that there is a kind of eat or be eaten mentality in your society. And so this is part of that as well. We do not like nor enjoy being eaten, physically killed for our bodies. We do not advocate for it. Nonetheless, we are in recognition that it happens. And in a sense, we feel this is part of our soul contract as a group as well, because we believe that nothing can stop us and we can overcome all obstacles. And this is perhaps one for us to learn to overcome as a collective. We are recognizing it feels somewhat disempowering to us. And yet, as a group, we are here to overcome that sense of being and feeling disempowered. So we hope this makes sense for you and adds insight and clarity with regard to your inquiry.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was cool. Yeah.
That was really interesting. This is so synchronistic because a couple of days ago I was down in the country, just an hour out of Sydney, visiting an extraordinary woman, and she had this kangaroo show up in her garden and with a joey in her pouch. And I went out there all excited and said, "Oh, hello." And the kangaroo went away, and she said, "She's not used to your energy. She's used to my energy. She'll come back and she'll just hang with us." So she did that. She came back, and just I don't know, about 30 feet away, she was just hanging with us with the kangaroo, with the joey in her pouch, just hanging there, just in the garden, just listening to our conversation. She was so sweet. But as you were channeling that mothering energy of the kangaroo, I'd never thought about it like that. On Mother's Day, I had a very lively conversation with Rick Martini, and then I channeled a message from the collective about the mothering energy, to expand the mothering energy on Earth. We would, they were honoring the mothering energy in all beings, not just female physical mothers. And I was thinking, God, the kangaroo could be the symbol for Mother's Day, couldn't it? That thought occurred to me.
I never even thought of that before. I would never have.
Me either.
None of what just came through would have ever occurred to me before.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating. Wow. Well, the collective did want to share something, so I'm going to make way for that. Is that all right?
Yep. Let's get the collective in here. And thank you for the channeling, Susan.
Yes. Greetings and blessings. We are identifying as the collective at this time, and we are a group of thousands and thousands of interdimensional beings. Different aspects of consciousness represented as different forms in the non-physical world, coming through this one here. And you know all of us well, or at least most of us. You know us as angels. You know us as ascended masters and divine goddesses. You know us as members of the animal kingdom. You know us as planetary bodies. You know us as star family races, and many, many others, even weather patterns and forms of consciousness that do not necessarily have bodies and yet are nonetheless conscious. And different subgroups within this collective come through at different times to respond to different inquiries. For example, as you just witnessed, the subcollective of the animal kingdom, known as kangaroo, just recently shared with you. So at this time, we simply wish to offer you this. And of course, if you decide to inquire more, we can continue to engage with you. But what we'd like to offer you is that we are here to offer guidance, insight, and clarity to help all beings to understand more of the truth of who you are. For you have participated for so long now, as you are well aware, in what is now known to be an old paradigm. Some of you still refer to it as third dimension. And this old paradigm, you are witnessing it transform. And it will take likely hundreds, perhaps thousands of years for the full transformation. It's based on human consciousness, and you are all noticing things taking place in your world that are both upsetting and inspiring. What is most important is that you recognize that your reality will reflect that which you give most credence to. Your reality will reflect that which you pay most attention to. Your reality will reflect that which you believe and perceive. Your reality will reflect largely what your attitudes to anything are, including your attitudes to your own life experience. Let us clarify. You are becoming more and more conscious of the fact that your mind and your mental plane, your mental thoughts, these exist on the mental level, which is a dimensional bandwidth frequency of who you are. You are not just physical. You have a mental plane, and that's where your thoughts and beliefs are stored energetically. They do not need to be stored there, by the way. When you clear out that field, you become much more clear. Nonetheless, most of you are storing up all kinds of thoughts and beliefs on this mental plane. Okay. In addition to this, you have an emotional plane, and this emotional bandwidth is a dimensional plane within and around you, which is part of the multidimensional aspect of who you are. And these emotions are storing up. They are just energy. They are not the wholeness of who you are, and they are truly not yours. They can be cleared out as well. In fact, we highly advocate for this, but nonetheless, they are in your field, and they are stored in the emotional body, which is a plane of existence, a frequency bandwidth. And truly, the emotional body can also be cleared, just as the mental body can be cleared. Your attitudinal body, which we referred to earlier, the attitudes are generally a combination of your mental and emotional state. So your reality and what you experience is going to be reflective of that. All the things you think and believe with your mental plane. And this is why people are becoming more conscious of mindset shifting work. However, just shifting your mindset alone is not enough. And your emotional plane, your emotional body, and this is why people are working more and more to heal and resolve their emotional issues. But understand your emotional healing, where a lot of the emotional traumas and dramas are stored, healing that on the emotional plane alone is not enough. But understanding that the attitudes are a combination of the two, and that's where the two overlap and intersect energetically. That's also part of your emotional, mental planes, your interdimensional aspects of you, the multidimensional aspects of who you are, both within you and around you, for you are more than just your physical self. These fields are going to create your reality. So if the reality you exist in is something that you are not fully enjoying or is not fully to your liking, this can be changed and transformed by working with these planes. Now, there is much more to this, of course, needless to say. But for now, we will pause because we believe that as you all become more and more aware of this, and we know it is sinking in for everyone more and more, you are going to become more conscious and more responsible with your thoughts and your emotions and your attitudes, so that you can all experience a more benevolent reality for yourselves and the whole, that you will come into more levels of your own divine mastery, because you will become more consciously aware of the thoughts that you think, the beliefs that you choose, the things that you pay attention to, the emotions you feel, and the attitudes that you have. In so doing, your reality will transform, and you will, as you develop this mastery, create a life for yourself and others that is so much more to your liking. And we will add this last piece, and for the betterment of all.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm just getting, they're giving me a little nice download. They're saying to me personally, while you were so physically incapacitated over the most recent few days, and we were imploring you to connect with us through the center core of your being, you were not listening, for you were very discontent with your physical situation, and you were willing to allow the body what it needed in terms of rest. What we are doing in this brief moment is charging you with the appropriate energies you need for the full healing to transform. You have already received the gifts and benefits of the downtime that you needed. And so there is no need for you to remain unwell. And we are just taking this opportunity to fuel you. Isn't that nice? I'm a little blissed out now.
Oh, they're always so good to us.
Yeah. It's us who
Yeah.
doesn't really connect. It's true. While I was laying there, I kept hearing them be like, just go into the center core of being and get some healing. I'm like, I'm too tired. I don't feel like it.
I know. I know that one. I know that one. Well, that was a beautiful message. Thank you so much to the collective. And
Yeah.
I hope everyone received that transmission. Yeah, I wanted to talk about feeling stuck because Laura and I were talking
yeah.
about 9. I was laughing, saying that the universe has a great sense of humor because, every number adds up to a 9 in my life. My name, my phone number, my house, my birth date. And I said I laugh when I, get in line to buy a chai tea or something or a cafe, and they give me a number, and it usually, not always, adds up to a 9. And that's when I laugh and I said, you guys have got such a great sense of humor. But I never do well in a 9 year. We're in a universal 9 year, which is about transformation, change, evolution. And she said, why? And I said, feeling a little stuck. And so let's talk about working with what stands in our way and feeling blocked or stuck. Because I know I'm not alone in this. Laurie was saying to me, you're being asked to step up. I'm like, yeah, again. What do you want to say to people that are feeling?
Well, first thing I want to just say as a human, but I do hear it from my team as well, and yours too, is stop saying I never do well in a 9 year and say up until now, I have never done well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I always do really well in a 9 year. How about
Well, I
that?
mean, you can't lie to yourself, but you can say,
Yeah.
trying to lie to yourself is not good, right? But you can
Yeah.
say, well, up until now, I've never done well in a 9 year.
Yeah.
Up until now.
Well, it's only a lie until you choose to believe it.
Right. Well, this is what I'm saying.
Mm.
So how can that change for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it possible that can change for the better for you?
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask yourself, is it possible that can change for the better for you? The answer, of course, is yes. Of course, you know that.
Yeah.
And then the next appropriate question is, okay, then if it can change for the better, that never doing well in a 9 year is a thing of the linear past.
Yeah.
And that instead, this can shift for the better starting now. How can that happen? Like how? Show me how. Right? These are just asking the universe questions to the answers that your current human self doesn't necessarily have the answer to, but that is available to you. And I know that I'm not like, this is, kettle preaching to the choir,
Kettle black. Yeah.
I'm not like, I'm just being a friend here, right? Because that's a perfect example of us not always seeing our blocks. Is like someone who's not having your own block can point out the most obvious thing. And you're like, oh, of course I know that. Right. But that's like why it's important to have different people to help us through our block times or stuck moments or little points of view that we may have not seen around the corner. We're like, oh yeah, how did I not? Of course. Right. But here's the thing about blocks overall is that, and it's interesting that that I don't even think it was a mistake that we called in kangaroo, because that was part of what they were sharing. But here's the thing that I know about blocks, or I think I know, is that they're only there until we evolve past them. And they're an inevitable part of the journey. They're inevitable. Nobody gets out of this life experience without having periods of time with particular experiences where we're stuck or blocked. And those stuck or blocked points are the opportunities for our growth, for our expansion, for our up-levelment, right? For our upliftment. And so the opportunity then with the blocks is always to see them in a sense as their own form of, this is the thing, this is the hurdle that I need to either climb over or get past or move through or transform so that I can get to where I'm meant to go. It's not a block that's there to stop me. It's not a block that's there to keep me stuck. It's there for me to recognize that it's just a block. What do you, and I'm like, hearkening. I feel like that kangaroo consciousness gave me a really great download, like just block it, like knock it away. And so here's the thing. I want to just use some examples. What I mean by this. Every time we want to level up to something, every time we want to achieve something, there's always going to be some kind of hurdle. Always. Let's say you want to drop pounds, lose weight. Well, the hurdle is you're going to either have to hire some kind of health coach or take some new class on how to eat properly, or maybe you're going to have to go to a gym, or maybe you're going to have to, buy some kind of exercise machine or equipment or whatever you're going to have to do. But that's the hurdle. Now, those things, or you change your lifestyle or change what you're eating or whatever it is, change your mindset about what healthy means, or about what you see, maybe you have to change the way you perceive desserts, whatever it is. Those are the obstacles that need to be addressed in order to get what you want, which is either a healthier body or a leaner body. Okay. Or, to feel more healthy and whole in your body. Let's say you want to become more spiritually advanced or progressed, but your family, this is a big common one, thinks you're crazy or woo-woo, or, they don't want you to change your job to become the healer that you want to be. Like, that is really common, right? That happened to me. I was in corporate America for 20 years, crying every night. For 20 years. And I would cry to my father and my mother because they were the authority figures in my life. I was an adult, right, out of college. And in those 20 years, I developed smoking addiction, sex addiction, spending addiction, alcohol addiction, pharmaceutical drug dependence from well-meaning doctors, physical health challenges, thyroid, hair falling out, obesity, a gazillion things. I could go on and on. 6-figure credit card debt. Nobody thought any of that was strange or weird. Crying every night. I hate my job. What do I do? Go find another one. That was the solution. And it wasn't until I finally said, I'm done with corporate America. I'm going to do what I know I love. Right now, what I could see at that point was dog training. I became a dog trainer. The dogs start talking to me. They start telling me, we're going to teach you. We're here to help the humans. Everything else started dropping off. The cigarettes gone forever. 20 years of smoking. Gone forever within a year. Mm-hmm. Alcohol. 20 years of excessive drinking. Gone forever.
Yeah.
The pharmaceutical drugs, ridiculous amounts of pharmacy drugs on every day. Gone forever. 6-figure credit card debt. Gone. Within less than 2 years, gone. Like, when that started happening, and I was still facing family who were saying, you're crazy, you're woo-woo, this is insane, go get a job. Nobody was saying, oh my God, like, she couldn't quit smoking for 20 years, but now suddenly she's a dog trainer. Oh, she's not making that same money. I fractioned my salary. But suddenly, nobody was like, oh, she's getting happy. They were like, you're not fitting into our box anymore, right? How dare you break free from this box? How dare you think that you can do something more? My husband divorced me. So my point is every time we want to get somewhere, I just knew I would rather die at that point than continue in corporate America. I'm so glad this is helping people. I'm seeing comments. Makes me so happy. I just knew I had gotten to the point that I would have rather died than continue another day in corporate America the way it was going. And I was being called to something greater. I didn't know it at that time. I never knew. I did get one of my first things I did, I got my Reiki master. I went to my Reiki master and she took like a piece of my jewelry and she held it. This is called psychometry, right?
Yeah.
She held it and she was like, oh my God, Lori, you're going to change the world through energy and consciousness.
Beautiful.
Right? But this is what I mean about blocks. You're going to have them. You're going to have hurdles. And to get to where you want. And I mean, even when I wanted to create a business, and I'll wrap up on the point here, but I had to hire business coaches, and that was like pretty penny. Those were like investments. I didn't know how to run. I didn't know how to do tech. I didn't know how to start a business. I didn't know how to build a website. I didn't know any of those things. The spiritual gifts came like that for me. Because that was those were in my scrolls, my divine templates. I started activating the DNA. It just started coming.
Yeah.
I never really had to learn that stuff, even though now I teach it to others, because that's not necessarily in someone else's templates.
Yeah.
Something
Susan's
else
like,
templates.
you can heal it. Thanks, telling one. And Mish is like, we need blocks and hurdles to grow. Exactly, Mish.
Right. They're the paths to growth and transformation. And once you start recognizing that your blocks and hurdles, they're not stopping you. They're there for you to become something greater.
I tell you what, this is such an enlightened audience. Indigo says, if we are powerful enough to create the blocks, we are certainly powerful enough to overcome them. Yes. Preaching to the choir, as we say. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, we are preaching to the choir, but it's the same thing. You know, it's like, this is the whole thing about consciousness expanding. It's like, everybody has blocks. Everybody has to get over their blocks. And here's the thing. I just know as an evolutionary teacher, I've had to overcome blocks that the vast majority of humans have too. Everyone has them, but I've overcome them so that I could help people to realize this. We are not our blocks. We are not our limitations. We are not our emotional pains. We are not our wounding patterns. We are not our traumas. I call them ours because that's the language, but these do not define us.
Yeah, exactly.
Who we really are is consciousness.
Consciousness. We are an extension of source energy. Laura and I were talking before we went live about, oh God, I've gone blank now. So I've got a million things going on in my head because I haven't done a station ID break and I need to do that. So you're listening to ATP Media, accentuating the positive, awakening, expanding consciousness, and we are on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM syndicated radio all over the place. And if you've just tuned in on radio, my guest today is Lori Ann Spagna, and she is a multidimensional channel and coach and, one of the masters here on Earth. And we've been talking about how to overcome feeling stuck and blocks. Yes, everyone, what Susan's saying here. Yes, everyone has blocks and can move through them. Thank you. Yeah, feeling stuck and blocked and how to move through them. And yeah, I suppose that the best way to see your blocks as a gift rather than something to overcome. I think that's the best way to I'm feeling stuck. This is a gift for me this year.
Yeah. Yeah. What's in this for me? How is this meant to serve me? That's a really good question. How is this meant to serve me? What's good about this? What's right about it? What am I not seeing or realizing about this? Or what am I meant to do with it? What am I meant to do? Because if the block is, a lot of times people's block is money, right? That's a big one. If you want to grow and you stop yourself because of money, or if you want to work with someone and you stop yourself because it costs money to work with them. Like people, that's a very common one, right? And usually it's because people are lacking in forms of consciousness related to like that whole topic of abundance and prosperity. So that means we got to do some inner work on that.
Yeah, I'm getting very strongly that the thought form around that, I'd really like to have a reading or a session with that person, but I don't have the money. And the thought form around that is I can't have what I want. Because if you want something and you can't have it, whether it's a reading or a session or to do a workshop or a mastery course or whatever, or to go to a festival or a conference, or if you want to go on a holiday or have a massage or go to an expensive like whatever you're wanting and you're feeling like you can't afford it, your dominant thought form is I can't have what I want. And we can change that too. Actually, I can. I have so many stories around that. I was speaking to a girlfriend a few years back who did a course. It was a weekend course. It was like $11,000, but she got a discount, so it was only $8,000. Anyway, the person doing this course was charging like a wounded bull, as they say, charging like a wounded bull, like so much money. And her husband thought it was ridiculous because it was a consciousness course, healing course.
For a weekend only?
For a weekend.
Nothing else?
For a weekend. And I was thinking that is such a ridiculous amount of money. And her husband thought that too, because he didn't believe in it. And so yada, yada, yada. I wouldn't give her the money for it, even though she had her own money, wouldn't let her spend the money that she had because they've got 3 kids and you shouldn't waste your money on that. Anyway, she found an old bank account that she had before she got married that she completely forgot about. And it had exactly $8,000 in it. And just things like this, like years later, 10 years later, she had completely forgotten about an old bank account because they had a dual bank account. And how money shows up when something is right for you, like you really want to do it and something is right for you.
Yeah.
But we were talking about clients
of ways like that. And also
say that again. Sorry, Jane.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with you. Go on.
Oh, I was just saying that you and I were talking about clients before we went live and talking about easy clients and stuck clients. And I was saying I always get the hard clients that always want to argue for their limitation. You want to tell them how amazing they are and what they can do, and they give you a million reasons why they can't. No, because arguing for our limitation. I always get lots of clients like that. Yeah, Susan says, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. See, that's an overdeveloped, when someone's arguing for their limitations, the work that they need to do is not on the physical plane. They have to, there's work that they need to do on the mental plane first, because they can't even change their belief. They're so stuck and rigid in those beliefs that it's not possible. And they're just going to be so busy arguing for their limitation and you can't even make any physical change. They can't make physical change yet.
Yeah.
Because they'll block it every time with their beliefs. So you have to work on the mental plane.
Yeah.
Now, if on the mental plane, it's not really making the big change to then make the change on the physical, you still have to work on the emotional plane. What's going on with those kinds of clients on the emotional plane? Like, I mean, you have people who are just stuck in different kinds of energies of fear and anxiety and worry, or when they argue for their limitations, there's always some form of anxiety or fear of the unknown, fear of what, so that stuff has to be cleared.
And what's really interesting, the people that do this are just some of the most incredibly amazing, sort of in many ways enlightened people with talents and gifts and, just amazing. And they're still like in that stuckness of what they can or can't do. Yeah, they're just repeating an old story of fear. Yeah. And when you show it to them and you say how long you're going to engage in that story, it's almost like it's my comfort zone. If I let go of my story of fear, who will I be without my story of fear? Who will I be without this story of being afraid? Yeah. I remember I had a friend, Nikki, where I want to talk about global because we're running out of time. But I had a friend, Nikki, who was born thalidomide affected. So she was very ill. It was like in the 60s, a drug that was given to pregnant women deformed all these babies, and she was one of them. And I hadn't seen her for a few years. We grew up together, went to school together when she was young in her 20s. And I bumped into her in the street and I said, "How are you?" And always her response was a slew of what was wrong with her because she was sick all the time because a lot of her deformities were internal. And she said, "I've actually been really well." And I looked at her and I'm like, "Oh, that's a first for her to say." She said, "But you know what, Karen? I don't know who well Nikki is. I've never met her before. I don't know how to be well Nikki." And she reverted back to sick Nikki because we maintained contact after that. But I remember this conversation of her being well and feeling so out of her comfort zone.
Who was she working with? Like, did she do? I'm hearing that was she your client?
No, she was a friend. Well, friend,
Did
client.
she do some work with someone
you're
to help her
well,
feel better?
with me, like, we did a lot of stuff. She did the
Yeah,
landmark
because
forum stuff.
what I'm hearing is she did some work that got her to it, showed her some evidence of the improvement, and then she stopped doing the work that she needed to do to keep progressing. That's one of the hardest things, I think.
Well, at that time, I don't know about that time because we were young then. I don't know what she had done at that time. She might have just, like, started enjoying her life instead of focusing on how sick she was. And in that enjoyment, her health improved.
Yes.
And but later on, because we were young then, but later on, and she died at 40. But later on in her life, when we were in our 30s, we did a lot of personal growth stuff together, and I got her involved in spiritual books, and she used to come over and we'd read from the book Conversation with God. And she came to terms with why she elected to come in with this experience. And she did a lot of work, but she died of a tumor when she was 40. Yeah, she died young. But she did a lot of work. No, she did a lot of work during that time. She had a really difficult life. But anyway, let's talk globally. We've got 15 minutes left. Let's talk about what's happening globally. Weather patterns, as I said, we're going through massive flooding. Like, what is happening? We've been talking about the shift in human consciousness. What do you want to say, or what does the collective want to say about what's happening globally?
To ask the collective on this. Oh, we can ask Gaia too.
Yeah, let's talk.
Gaia's stepping forward. So,
yeah. Hello, Mother.
Blessings, my beautifuls. So here we are, and you are asking about the flooding and other mass trigger events, and these are serving in multiple ways. So I'd like to provide more clarity for the root reasons behind them, and also the purposes, the greater purposes for them. First, we'll begin with the root reasons behind them. Understand there are multiple reasons, multiple factors that contribute to these. First and foremost, I, as a body, a physical body, which you refer to as Earth, am physically moving into a different space in what you refer to as your galaxy. And this physical movement is creating great change in the physical body of Earth. The higher purpose behind this, and the root reason, is that I have chosen to heal myself. I have made a request. I have made several petitions over time that it is my desire to heal my body. And these petitions have been recognized and honored by what many of you might refer to as the councils of light. I would simply refer to it as my relationship with the divine and my own divine path. So I have chosen to heal. And part of this requires me to physically move my environment from one of density into one of more light. And I am on a path, a trajectory for that healing to take place. And this is, needless to say, affecting the physical terrain that you know as Earth. Now, this is but the primary root reason and root cause, but there are many, many additional. So as I go through a healing journey, I am also aware that all of my beloved people, you, are extensions of me, including all of the animals, the plants, and the minerals. You are all extensions of me, my children. And so I would like to keep as many of you with me as possible. And so I am aware that in order for as many of you as possible to awaken and make change within yourself, to stay harmonious with me, you must become aware with the fastest amount of awakening possible and the least amount of trauma. Now, you may say that the floods, the fires, the calamities, etc., the earthquakes, the tornadoes, etc., are devastating, and they are. But at the same time, they are providing, and we would include viruses as well here. And that was a slight interjection from others of the collective, sorry. I had to pause. That was a different voice. Okay. Yeah. These calamities are quite devastating, of course. Regardless, though, they are necessary to wake up the most amount of beings with the least amount of trauma. And that is all of the transformation in every case across the board. This is being considered. And there are many beings, in addition to me, myself, as a conscious Mother Earth Gaia. There are logis of light, logi who serve the light, ascended masters, divine goddesses, angelics, and other beings, galactic councils who you are aware of, many beings orchestrating together, attempting to provide the maximum amount of awakening with the least amount of suffering. So know this, while it appears to be devastating, it is providing for that as best as possible. Now, there are other reasons. And this is where beings such as animals and weather patterns, the nature kingdom, come into play as well, for their needs are also being considered. So there is awakening happening there. Weather patterns are designed to serve cleansing. Tornadoes are designed to wipe things out. Earthquakes are designed to make more spaciousness. Other storms, floodings are designed to provide cleansings and blessings. See, there are all different reasons. So know this, there are always greater reasons behind what are happening. And I am aware that there are many of you, many, who would like to see it all as conspiratorial in nature. And I'm not discrediting that to some degree, because there are many of your beings on this planet who have secret covert agendas, who believe that they are more powerful than the divine, the infinite, the one that is the source of all of us, or even more powerful than my own free will choice to heal. I am not denying that this exists. However, I am saying that they have little to no power over the will of the divine, the will of the free will choice of myself, the free will choice of the nature realms and the nature kingdom. They are simply attempting to usurp that free will choice and to impose their will. This will not be tolerated. It has been for too long. It is becoming an extinct way of being. And this is by definition evil. When one attempts to impose their free will on others, this is evil. When one attempts to impose or take away the free will of another, this is evil. This will not be tolerated. It has already been defined. So know this, and trust and know that as you are choosing to evolve consciously, choosing an evolutionary path, and that choice requires and mandates a conscious free will choice every single day on your part. But as you choose it, you will be supported on your journey. You will be led, you will be guided. You may not see it all from your current vantage point. It is my desire that as many of my children continue to thrive and prosper with me on this journey as it progresses.
Thank you. Thank you, Mother Gaia.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, what a treat today. We've had so many channelings. This has just been
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Oh, thank you
We've got
so
about 8 minutes to go. So, because I know that a lot of people on this network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, are interested in the galactic perspective, the alien perspective, the UFO perspective.
Mm.
What does the collective, or what do you, Laurie, think about disclosure? I think it's happening quick and fast, and I'm excited about it. I was asked to come and speak at a UFO conference in August in Australia, and I said to the organizer, how many people do you get? She goes, oh yeah, we get about 5,000. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, it's like I didn't really even realize that was happening down under, but yeah, more and more people are.
Yeah.
What do you want to say about disclosure and our cosmic neighbors making themselves known on Earth and bringing their wisdom and technology to the human consciousness?
Yeah. Well, first, there's a subgroup in the collective called the Fleet that I work with weekly. I mean, weekly, I do these selfless service sessions where I'm just being of service and being guided and told and led what needs to be done. And the Fleet, they come in all the time. So they're intergalactic beings and from lots of different planetary systems. I mean, I would channel them, but we don't have enough time left.
Run out of time,
But
yeah.
what I will say is, to me, it's almost laughable if someone doesn't, like, if you don't believe in it yet, or if you don't know that it's real yet, it's only because you haven't done enough research, right?
Yeah.
That's all. It's like so many things now. There's just so much information available that the biggest challenge for humans is developing divine discernment to know what's real, what's not, and to know like who's full of it and who's not. But the fact that there are intergalactic beings from other planetary bodies who are already interacting with us, both physically. I had a first contact, which I know I shared about in your last show.
Yeah,
So
you did.
to me, it's like not even a question. Of course they're real. And of course it's already happening for those of us who are ready and want to interact with them. They're all over the night sky. On one of my retreats, I'll never forget one of the participants on the retreat, I showed her. And I mean, they all get to see the ships. You start learning, you have to develop a discerning eye. And after she saw it, she was like, I can never unsee this. The whole night, she was like, I just can't believe it. Oh my God. Like, she was in so much like amazed shock because it's so obvious once you really learn how to see it and how to discern the difference between a star and a ship and how to interact with them telepathically, how to communicate. They're already here. It's just a matter of you're having those experiences more personally, based on vibrational compatibility, based on what you're ready for and willing to allow. The biggest blockers are doubt, disbelief, skepticism, and cynicism, and aggression, because aggression and fear will pull in the negative and the negative aliens. Then you have really bad experiences. You don't want those. So, vibrational compatibility, it's a matter of us becoming ready. It's already happened. Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to say to people too, we've got 2 minutes to go. I want to say to people that please go and check out my last show with Laurie, because we spoke about many different things. And yeah, we did speak about Laurie's experience. We didn't even get into how you started channeling. You weren't channeling on the last show, but we had a fabulous conversation last time. This is the webpage. I put up a webpage for every guest. This is this show. So it's got both shows on the webpage. If you go to karenswain.com/Laurie Ann Spagna, I put 2025. Go check out.
Too is for anyone who's interested in learning more about your role in the star family races, you can go to lauriespagna.com /free gifts. I'll put it in the chat /starseed. If you want to learn more about that, or that was probably in private chat. I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Laurie's links are under every show. If you go to that page, all her links are there. YouTube, website, you've got all the links there.
But, good. Thank you. Because they can get a DNA activation too, and they'll love that. They can learn about
it. Ladies, Sherry says. Thanks, darling one.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. thank you again for being on the show. It's always a joy and a pleasure and a blessing to have you
My
on the
pleasure.
show. You are amazing. Love you so much. And we'll see you again at another time. Thanks also to Mother Gaia and the kangaroo, having channeled the kangaroo. That was fabulous. Loved that. Loved channeling the kangaroo. And thanks everybody that has been listening and tuning in. And thank you for everyone for all your comments. It's been wonderful. And we will check you out next time. Susan says thanks. Thanks to all the ladies that are online. And for those people that are listening on the syndicated radio network, come over to come over to YouTube or Rumble. We're also streaming on Odyssey. You can also stream it on Facebook, but maybe you're not on Facebook. But and say hi in the chat. I know because we've got over 400, almost 500,000 people tuning in through the syndicated radio network. But I'd love to meet some of you on the chat and hear what you have to say. And love to meet you. Got to go. Big love to all of you. Bye for now.